Hey guys, LevelCap here, bringing you some Battlefield 3 beta footage on the very first day. Now, before I get into talking about the beta, I wanted to address an issue here that some people are kind of freaked out about, and to admit I was freaked out about this until I figured out what the actual situation is. Now, when you get into Battlefield 3 beta, your player name is your origin ID. Now, most players, like myself, made their origin ID something that they didn't really care about people seeing in game, and you can't change this in the beta. So of course people are freaking out thinking that you're never going to be able to change your player name or create a new soldier or anything like this. I actually went on the origin chat help thing, whatever you call it, and talked to somebody and finally got them to give me a straight answer, which was when Battlefield 3 comes out, you will be able to create a new soldier with any name that you want, provided it isn't taken. So please take some comfort in that if you were freaking about the name situation. Alright, so as you can see, I am playing the beta here, and upon getting into the game, the first thing I noticed was that there was quite a few bugs, and I know this is a beta, so I'm not supposed to judge it as if it's a final product, but having bugs like not being able to bind your mouse to certain functions like spotting guys or anything, actually. I think there's a lot of key binding bugs. It's kind of annoying because you're really used to playing a shooter with your controls, and when you gotta play with the default controls it makes it a little different. That being said, the game is really a lot of fun. The guns and the gameplay is quite different from Battlefield Bad Company 2. I don't know if I would call it similar to another Battlefield game out there, because the guns handle very differently. I would say, not that I know a lot about guns, but I would say they handle much more realistically. You can't really snipe as well. There's a lot more kickback with each weapon, so it takes a little while getting used to. You're probably not going to go on your crazy Battlefield Bad Company 2 kill streaks right off the bat, because you're going to have to get a good feel for how the new weapons handle. One thing that I do like a lot, and it might have something to do with the map that I'm playing on, which is Operation Metro, is as you progress up through the map, it seems much more paced. Like, there's a lot more resistance, and you push up slowly, you cover each other, and I'm not sure how that game mechanic has been forced. I think it might have something to do with the fact that now that you can lie prone, there's a lot more players hiding and waiting for you. And so as you progress on in the game, you really have to watch out for guys in dark corners and that kind of thing. So it feels much more tactical as you're progressing along. It's not just like four guys in a Jeep drive crazily into a base, all get out and blow everything up. It seems like you take cover, somebody moves up, you cover him, and then you move up. You know, it seems much more tactical. And that could have a lot to do with the fact that a lot of this map takes place in the subway, and you're very confined in there, and there you have alleys, and you have to be really careful as you push up. But either way, it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit more slow paced, I feel, and I think that's a good thing. I think it allows you to be more tactical, more strategic. Now, there was rumors that the spawn system was going to go back to the way it was in Battlefield 2, where you had a squad leader and you could only spawn on the squad leader. And I was a little worried about this, because when you're in the squad leader position, you don't want to be too ballsy. You don't want to go out there and risk yourself, because if you die, then your whole squad has to either revive you or they have to spawn back at your base spawn point, and that can be a major setback to your squad. But as it appears, you can spawn on anybody in your squad, so that's a relief. And there's also now a really cool spawn beacon that the recon class I don't know if it's called the Recon. I'll have to look at that again, but the sniper class essentially gets a spawn beacon that he can put down somewhere, and your entire squad can spawn off of that. So that's kind of nice. If you play the Recon kit, you don't have to stay in the back keeping your spawn point alive. You can just plop one down, and then everybody can keep spawning there and rushing into combat and dying. Now, I actually had a lot of fun playing with all the classes. When I first started out, I had a lot of trouble seeing the guys that I was getting killed by. So I ended up playing Sniper a lot in the beginning. That was actually really helpful in the beginning part of this map, which is very bushy and has lots of foliage for guys to hide in. And so I kept getting killed by guys hiding in bushes, which is going to happen to you. But the Sniper allowed me to actually see the guys that were shooting back at me. And as you level up and unlock stucks, you get better sights for the weapons, and you can see guys further away. So it's a little intimidating right off the bat with some of the stock weapons, because you think like, oh man, is this going to be how accurate the weapons are, or how hard it is to see guys this whole game? But it isn't, and you will get new unlocks and upgrades and that make it a little easier. And I do like the guns a lot. The support kit, the one that gives you ammo and you run with a machine gun, that one really does seem to fit the support role a lot more accurately. Your gun is less accurate than the assault class, but you have way more bullets, and so you really do lay down a lot of supporting fire, which is very cool. Another little bonus, I guess you would call, is that when guys would spawn on you, you actually get a spawn point. Well, you get spawn points. I think you get 10 points every time a guy spawns on you. So that's like Battlefield 3's way of adding incentive to not just run in and die, but if you stay alive and get close to the action and your teammates spawn on you, then you get points for that. And I think that's a really great addition, and it gives players incentive to play more tactically and less like Rambo. Now, something that I discovered, or rather think I discovered, is that MCOM stations will now kill you if you're standing next to them when they blow up. Now, I always thought it was kind of funny in Battlefield Bad Company 2 when they would have these giant explosions, but you could be standing on top of it and be fine. In this, I think you die. At least I died while standing next to one, and it said the cause of my death was just death, so I assume it was the MCOM station. Now, something that you're going to notice while playing is that you're going to get stuck on a lot of objects in this. And I'm not sure what's going on, but there's a lot of tiny rocks and stuff, and you'll just be running along and all of a sudden you'll run into what you think is an invisible wall, but you're actually getting stuck on some tiny little piece of geometry on the ground. And this happens a lot, and it happened to me a lot. Maybe it's something that you just have to get used to how each object interacts, but I found it kind of annoying and a little bit unlike all the other Battlefield games, which really allow you to run over a lot of stuff much easier. But in this, one example is when you're down in the subway and you're trying to run across the subway tracks, you will actually get stuck on the rails of the subway tracks. So you have to jump over the rails, which I found really annoying, and it got me killed more than once. So hopefully they'll work on the collision detection and make it a little less of a pain in the ass. Now, I included this little clip of the end game user interface, and it kind of made me laugh because they take so long showing you all of these achievements and awards, and they have all these freaking sound effects, and maybe it's cool the first time through. I got bored of it the first time through, and the sound effects are really annoying. Like, they have this weird staticky thing that for the first couple games I thought there was something wrong with my sound system, but it's actually this static thing that EA does. Anyway, it's a little overdone, and I think after playing many hours of this, I'm gonna get really impatient during the score screen. It would be awesome if EA allowed us to chat with each other after a round. That would kind of alleviate some of the boredom. Now another thing that actually really got to me, and I hope this is just something in the beta and not going to be how it is in the final, but to actually change your in-game options, you have to spawn in a game match and be alive to access the options menu. Now, this just seems insane, because the first time I tried to mess around with my options, I got killed and the options menu closed. And that just seems ridiculous to me. I'm trying to bind my keys and set my resolution and turn off certain graphics features, and if I get killed, it just exits me out of the options menu. Now, I really hope that is a beta thing, because that's really terrible design if that is the way it's supposed to be. Now, for those of you who are a little afraid that you had to launch the game from Battlelog, I can attest to that it's very fast, and it's actually pretty cool. Battlelog itself is a really neat way of looking at stats. It's all inside of a browser, whichever browser you pick, and it's all organized really well. It's very fast. It's sleeker than any of the other Battlefield user interfaces, and it's easier to figure out what you need to do to get certain achievements, or when you're going to lock new weapons or attachments or something like that. So I actually really like Battlelog. I think that was a really good idea on EA's part, and it loads really fast. So overall, I'm really pleased with the whole package that Battlefield 3 comes in. Now, I didn't get to do the one thing I was most curious about, which is a knife kill. I don't generally knife a lot of people because I don't find myself in a situation where I find it tactically useful. But I am really curious to see how it works in this, because it seems much slower than Battlefield Bad Company 2. So once again, thanks for watching, guys. My name is LevelCap. If you like my stuff, subscribe. I plan on covering Battlefield 3 a lot and just continuously doing videos on Battlefield 3. So if that's what you want to see, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.